Was there any case in particular that inspired you to write your book?
I would say there were a couple of them that I experienced like towards the latter part of my criminal defense practice, where I was on Zoom many times and arguing and two in particular that I can talk about, and I'm not necessarily sure that they even made the book, but they certainly were cases that really changed my viewpoints and made me argue and see things very differently, that the scales of the justice were not being equally applied, that the lady justice was looking out from the blindfold. She was looking, peeking, and the scales were not balanced. They were imbalanced. They were not equal. They were imbalanced. And that's the name of the book, Unequal Justice. And that's really the cover of the book. Lady Justice is blindfolded and peeking out from the blindfold, as you can see. And the scales they're not balanced. They're not fair. But two cases come to mind. And one of them probably still an open case at this point. And he was finally released as a result of many efforts that I had made to get this gentleman released, who was accused of a very, I don't want to get into the details of it, but a graphic sexual assault of a granddaughter. I didn't see any basis for the evidence in that case. I didn't believe the charge. I looked at the investigation from the police side, and I thought it was flawed in many ways. It was a very shoddy investigation and a rush to judgment to put this person in jail. And I fought very, very hard, very passionately to get this individual released. And I would say I appeared in front of the same judge numerous times and made the arguments that it was wrong, particularly during this period of COVID, for this person to be in custody who had some health issues. And that although those were serious charges that carried some significant consequences, he deserved to be treated fairly and have his day in court. Despite my arguing the case as best I could and getting my own, following up on investigation, doing my own investigation from our side to show that the state's case was flawed, to show that they had not properly interviewed witnesses, that they had not gathered enough information. They could not prove that case. Despite all that, this person remained in custody, and ultimately it went to the appellate courts, who filed an appeal, and that was denied. Our request to have him released was denied, and he remained in custody for more than 4 months. While all this was going on. And during that 4 months, I probably appeared in front of the judge at least 6 times, arguing again and again that he needed to be released, that there was not a basis to keep this person in custody. Ultimately, I got out of that case. And again, it's also one of the subjects of the book is that he just ran out of money. He could not continue to pay private counsel for these appearances and all the things that were going on in the case, and money ran out. I had to ask the court to be relieved as his attorney, and ultimately I was released as his counsel, and he had another attorney that he hired, and I believe that case is still going on as we speak. It's still an active case. I was able to speak to someone on a personal level at the prosecutor's office I knew very well. And I appealed to their senses and said, just let this person have their day in court. Let them out, even if you can find them at home under house arrest. It's a far better situation than them sitting in custody, especially during this time of COVID when, people were so concerned about the scare and the epidemic that was going on, the pandemic being spread in close quarters, particularly in jails. And this person had a pre-existing health condition that was very, very concerning. The prosecutor's office agreed to release him pending his trial date and his day in court. And that has not happened as far as I know yet.